doing a special four questions today with a beautiful friend of mine, an ex-housemate I've lived with for years, Ben Gilchrist. Only last Friday, the Prime Minister Boris Johnson properly stumbled and stuttered over his words after being wonderfully, if not mercifully, heckled. Check this out.
Why are you not with them in Parliament, sorting out the mess that you have created?
Someone with the power to sort out what matters most to local people.
Like our MPs, Boris.
Yes.
Maybe get back
Indeed.
to Parliament.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm all in favour of our MPs.
Yeah. Why are you not with them in Parliament, sorting out the mess that you have created?
Would you mind? I'm very happy to get back to Parliament very soon. But what we want, I think, to see what we want to see in this region is towns and communities able to represent that gentleman and sort out his needs.
Ben Gilchrist, the man who could stop Boris Johnson in his tracks as he was speaking to business leaders. So Ben, hello mate. Hello Tony. Thank you for coming on. Now, give us a bit of background. So it was last Friday. Now, where we are at the moment, the day we're filming is midweek. We're in Wednesday today, and it was last Friday. And obviously, the High Court have now put out that they're making a decision whether proroguing Parliament is unlawful. So we're not going to talk about that thing about necessarily the whole Brexit thing, because as much as the next man, I'm sick of it. When I say the next man, obviously not you. You're well into it, Ben.
Love it.
But wanted to get a little bit of story behind what came to that moment of heckling and for you. And just talk around that. So Ben, tell us about what took you to Rotherham of all places.
Yeah, Rotherham. It was great to be in Rotherham, and I was at a big event. It was called the Convention of the North. Yeah. Big get together all around the devolution of powers to the North, so the business league, the politician, all those there. So I was there to be speaking up for voluntary sector, who I work on behalf of, and stuff. And then lo and behold, the murmurs started, and it became clear Boris was going to turn up.
Oh wow! So it wasn't even.
I didn't know he was going to be there.
See, this is because I've spoken local, because he's. To be fair, Ben's now a local celebrity in Old Trafford, Manchester, where we live. And everyone was like, "Did he go? Did you go there because you knew he was there?" No. That's a pure heckle. Comes from something deeper,
Well, it does, but there's so many things in the last couple of weeks that have sort of led up to that, and before that, but particularly the last couple of weeks, after the announcement of proroguing of Parliament, which is obviously the fuel for it for me, the attack on democracy. Yeah. I immediately, one of my instincts was, if I get a chance to be in front of a minister, to be in a room with someone, I'm going to have my say.
Wow. So that was going on in your mind.
So I had prepared. I didn't plan.
Yeah.
I prepared. Yeah. And I just really felt I've got to do that. And I'm not in meetings a lot, but at the same time I do get into places where there are formal speeches by people, etc. Yeah. And then particularly driving over on that morning, lovely drive over the Pennines, I suddenly was like, actually, there might be a minister there. There might be someone to really challenge. So again, in broad terms, I've been thinking about what would I say. Yeah. How might I do it? Yeah. Psyching myself up for that, and then in being there, and suddenly this build up of media towards lunchtime when it was, I was like, all right, I've got to go for this.
And you knew, and then once you'd got there, it was. The rumours had started, and then it got stated. It kind of got known that he was going to come.
Yeah, it wasn't actually officially announced.
Right.
It was just the media. There was the rumour mill.
You can tell. Yeah.
There was a bit of social media stuff. I was tweeting on the day already, and it just built. And then particularly the cameras, it was obvious that it was someone pretty important.
Right.
Boris was in the area. We knew he'd already been heckled once.
Yeah.
So in the area.
Was that Doncaster?
In Doncaster, a woman did great heckle, even better, I reckon. You should send that show that at the end.
She's well. Yes, I will. I'll do that clip at the end.
Do that clip at the end. I'm actually thinking we should have a gathering of hecklers united or something, because there's enough of us now. It'd be quite nice to get a little group together and have some.
I mean, you're at least at the level of WhatsApp group. You know that. Maybe not a movement yet, but still.
No, yeah, that's true.
That's amazing. So, you're there now, because we're going to talk about the moment, what's happened to you afterwards, and then we're going to have a little chat about heckling in general. But for you, there was a moment when, and what was the trigger? Now, I presume that I think you've just mentioned it really. It was about proroguing Parliament, which I think is interesting, because if you know, Prime Minister has prorogued Parliament, which I think is a great kind of description of yourself. We have as our leader a pro-rogue, and he's suspended Parliament, and we're going to see if that's legal or not. But was it? So it was that. But what did he say? Something that really kind of
and I think if you know from the clip, I think you can just catch it, because he'd been waffling in a normal, very jovial Boris way, not really saying anything. And then he came to this moment of saying how important he knows it is, and he thinks it is, for local representation. The people, because he was playing back to him being the mayor of London and bigging that up. And that was the point at which I lost, because I'll be honest, I did almost bottle it. It was quite a big setting, and I was a bit like, when do I do this? At what moment? So I was still trying to am I going for this? Am I going for this? But then when he dropped that line and the hypocrisy of it relative to proroguing Parliament, and that's when I was like, what, like our MPs, Boris?
And then
that flow of get back in Parliament, get sorting it out.
Fantastic.
Someone with the power to sort out what matters most to local people.
Like our MPs, Boris.
Yes, indeed. Indeed.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm all in favour of our MPs.
Yeah, why are you not with them in Parliament? Sorting
Would
out
you-
the mess that you have created.
Would you
Get back to Parliament and
very
sort
happy
it out with
Very
local
soon.
accountability.
But what we want, I think, to see
Why don't you sort it out, Boris? Why don't you
is
sort it out?
what we want to see in this
Anyone else?
region is towns and communities able to represent that.
As a comedian, as a performer,
Yeah.
I have a love-hate relationship with heckling itself.
Yes.
Right within that
Yeah.
performance sphere, it can add so wonderfully to an experience and a live experience. Because rather than seeing something on TV or a DVD or whatever, there's something about that interaction which is so core to what it is to be human. That human connection. And a good heckle can really add to a debate and a presentation, but it can also derail someone, and then you kind of lose the great message. However, cards on the table, it was exceptional, Ben. I thought it was just a beautifully brave moment, and I know Ben personally, and he's the most gentle, self-giving, mild-mannered man you might ever likely to meet. So when you sent the video, like going, oh look what's happened today, when it started to hit the media, I thought you were joking, because I was like, well, that wouldn't be Ben. And then obviously I know you're an activist, but it was you listened to the voice and I said but in terms of, obviously as an activist, political debate within the comedy sphere, a heckle is good when the heckler does it in a way they either say something clever and they also know their own boundaries, that they don't ruin the night for everyone else. Now that's obviously, I would say that's probably different to a political speech. But what I loved about what you did, you stayed on message. You didn't just go, and you've got stupid hair. You went, what about Parliament? Get back to it, sort out the mess, and you kept going with it. So what do you have a philosophy of kind of heckling and interrupting? What do you think there is a sort of debate to be had about what are kind of acceptable moments? Because obviously this is in a sense what bubbled up for you. You thought about it, but it was also spontaneous in one sense.
It was, yeah.
But perhaps there's an argument to be said now, we're in such a crisis time that actually just speeches as normal without any kind of interaction from the public and debate. This maybe isn't the time just to sit back and listen.
Well, yeah, definitely. It's more than ever a time to stand up. Although I think in general, you know, we need a bit more heckling of all of that public realm, you know.
Yeah.
But as you say, what's the boundaries? What's the right? Like, you know, there is a big call, I think, in the political heckling space of are you doing it to have some element of dialogue and make your point and then sit down? Now, obviously, I didn't get a chance to sit down because I was dragged out.
But on record, you would have said, had you said that and he'd answered it and did it, you would have maybe asked again, and you think you would have actually sat down.
Well, I was, you know, that was what I was going to say is there is also the political heckle, which is about an intent of derailing the whole space.
Okay.
And I think there's a space for that.
Yeah.
Because, well, you know, with particularly with much more outrageous figures, then I you know, believe in the ability to sort of fundamentally challenge the space and the existence of the dialogue. Now, I was a bit in two minds about that.
Yeah.
That choice was out of my hands. But overall, I think if I'd had a bit of an exchange, and then, you know, it depends, I suppose, on the mood of the room. If there's an energy to that, then I'll go with whichever way. My feeling, you know, as soon as I stood up, there were the first few voices were sit down, shut up. You know, not a lot, but I'm just saying I could tell that. So I wasn't reading the room. I was like, I'm probably not going to last a long time on this.
Yeah.
And I hadn't entirely thought about the security bit, although I think I probably hadn't anticipated there's going to be some security. You know, something's going to happen. Right. The immediacy of it, the speed they moved, you know, I was quite impressed with that.
Yeah. Oh, very efficient.
Although in the end that added to the whole, you know, it actually added to the moment. So again, I wouldn't have planned that, but it probably brought it out right.
That actually heightened the drama of the situation. If you look at the so it's an interesting one, because I remember Martin Luther King in an interview talked about part of it. You know, really the actions that you know did through Selma and all these different things. He said it was really about creating a piece of theatre. Sometimes people remember the theatre as much as all the words and the lengthy speeches. Yeah. And really, nobody really knows what Boris Johnson said to a lot of business leaders and community leaders in Rotherham, but they remember this piece of theatre where you were like became a totem for that anger and that frustration with the political process being provoked, you know, like being stymied, and so in a sense, you know, that's what came out of that, which is an interesting one with heckles, because heckles it can actually stop the actual, you know, whatever's being presented, and that's where it can be challenging and problematic. But actually, also here, it was what ultimately is judged by its fruits. Actually, that was a beautiful sort of image for, you know, this debate we're having as a nation. Mm-hmm. But you would have sat down if he. Now, interesting. What do you think of his response? Because obviously, he was on a back foot, and he was like, "Well, I respect the MPs," and you know, what do you think on that front?
Well, I mean, I wasn't expecting much, but he really fumbled it.
He totally fumbled it.
I mean, that's what everyone. I mean, seems to be saying, and particularly the fact that his immediate default was, "I respect, you know, our MPs," which manifestly he doesn't.
And you weren't asking that question.
And I wasn't asking that.
Do you respect MPs, Boris? No.
So I mean, he just can't handle. He's fine in a supportive setting, you know, with his chums. Yeah. You know, where he can be jovial and very humorous and all that. But he cannot. You know, there's so many examples these last few weeks. He just can't handle a challenging heckle. Yeah. Just, you know, and you know, I don't envy him that. You know, I'm sure I probably wouldn't do that great. And yet, you know, there's something about, you know, part of my heckling was about just that basic media training of, you know what you want to say and just keep saying it.
Keep saying it till the answer.
So, and obviously he is broadly very good at that, annoyingly, boringly, and so forth. So it's surprising in a speech-like context that he didn't just go into this is what I'm, you know,
this is my
bit
line.
More like,
this is
and you know, even like then at the very end there's that throwaway sort of insult towards me. There's a slightly dismissive gesture as well, like his hand, his body language is not in control of that.
Which is a piece of theatre. He actually brought out of what does he really think about the common man and the dissenting voice. You know, you know, one could argue he almost intimated at, you know, kind of that man's needs, you know, as though he had like some kind of mental health issue by stopping the process.
And as if that, you know,
Yeah.
as if that's likely or funny or, you know,
Yeah.
anyway, again, it's sort of bringing out his inner monologue, really,
Yeah.
whether in his body language or what he says. And, you know, lots of people rightly, you know, very irate just with that.
Yeah.
People have died because of austerity, and then you've got the cheek to come here and tell us austerity's over and it's all good now, we're going to leave the EU and everything's going to be great. It's just a fairy tale.
Well, actually, we're putting a lot of investment.
So, Ben Gilchrist, my beautiful friend, thank you. Man of the people, heckler, legend. I just wanted to bring on the show to honour you and say thank you for your bravery.
Thank you, Tony. Power to the people.
And may I remind you, you're not allowed to come to any of my comedy shows. I'm too scared of you.
Again.